You know, the concept of a woodshed can almost best be summarized by a simple picture. And that's of me standing in front of a wood pile. And I'm just now getting home from work. It's a little after 5. Sun's going down, cold as heck, snow-covered ground, and that wood pile, every piece of that wood's frozen to the next one. And so it illustrates the fact that it's nice to come home, have your wood seasoned, dry, in a nice reachable place so you can grab an armful, take it inside, fire it up. Nothing better than that fragrant smell when you step out at night of a wood burning, and you can just sense it and smell it. Well, this makes it more complicated when you don't have a good woodshed, and so that's the goal, is to build one. And I've got a plan. You're going to see it in action. It ought to be smooth enough. I was down deer hunting this year and I saw a bunch of hardwoods down there, and I wanted to cut them up, split them up, put them somewhere where I could burn them when I wanted to. What you're seeing back behind me is a result of, you know, these trees falling down on the fence line over the course of the year, ice storm, that sort of thing. And I cut them up and I just throw them in this pile. Good for bonfires, not really great for wood burning. So bear with me, enjoy, and hopefully we'll both learn something along the way. And I thought I'd try to do this on the cheap, and I think it's going to be a mix of new and old wood. I tore an old deck off of the house about 4 or 5 years ago and piled it up like we do out in the country. We just make piles here and there and yonder. And so that's the pile after I have picked through it. I had some nice big cedar posts that I think I want to try to salvage. This is all cedar, a little rough, but we're going to try to make some good use of it, since theoretically it's going to be undercover and has some more longevity and lifespan to it. Over to this side of my shoulder, you're going to see these big 6x6s, and they're all cedar. They're painted. They had rotten ends on both ends. I've trimmed them up. And then back behind there's some 2x6s, 2x8s, I think. And I'm going to try to clean them up and incorporate them into this thing. But anytime you can take used wood and salvage it, I think it's going to have a roof over it. I built a barn here 15 years ago. I still have some tin left over I'm going to use for the roof of this thing. So to the extent possible, we're going to recycle and reuse. Here's the site. I'm going to give you a little closer inspection here in a second, but there is a place where wood was traditionally stored over the last 30 years. And it's right here in this corner of this fence row. And so I've gone along and I have trimmed up some of these old cedar trees, and I'm going to come along today. I got about an hour of sunlight left. I'm going to trim up some more trees and add to this pile that I've been working on and have it more suitable so that I can have something that's about 8 feet tall and not have any branches hanging down on it. You'll see those cedars back there are going to be in the way. I'll fix that here shortly. It helps a lot if you recruit a healthy, young, vibrant person to drag and add to the pile. All right, now we're getting rid of the old wood pile. Most of it's gone, and doing it the old-fashioned, the new-fashioned way. Not old school here, boys. Site's clean. A little equipment does not hurt. I'm grateful for it. So I'm cutting my support blocks to put into the tough block. And so, the way to best do that is to have that hanging on your rim joist. So I'm cutting a series of cuts, and then I'll knock all those out. That way that thing is firmly seated in the tough block, and the joist is right there on the support. Took a hammer and I knocked all those out. Now you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to clean that up with another saw, but you get the idea. All right, I have rethought this situation. You know, I was trying to recycle and reuse some of that old cedar, and what I think I've got here is cedar that's not structurally as sound as I would like, given the weight I anticipate this thing is going to have. So I have fallen back and regrouped, and I'm going to use those. See that square I've got already formed up? I'm going to take that apart. I'm going to go back with CCA 2x6s, and I'm going to use that old cedar after I've stained it. It's been sanded. I'm going to stain it, and then I'm going to kind of use it as a facade and more of a decorative, you know, to make it look a little older, a little shabbier, and not so gussied up and new. So we'll see how this turns out, but I've got high hopes for this, and so never hurts to, you know, to kind of change your plans. And if you do it midstream, I know you're anxious, you want to keep on cranking, but set me back a day or two. And now I've taken the original platform apart, and I marked where I wanted all the supports to be, and so I'm going to take away those plastic tough blocks, and I'm going to dig out, put some gravel. I think I've got a couple buckets of sand I pulled down around the river a couple months ago. That'll make up the difference on what I need, and that'll give me a kind of firm foundation. This dirt's a little softer than I thought back here with all the degradation and debris over the years along this fence line. Okay, so these are the 6x6 cedar posts that I've been working on, and you can tell how nice those things look, and they smell great. Here's what they started off looking like. Pretty rough. This is probably stained from maybe the year 2000. These are about 25-year-old posts, and I started off with an orbital sander and then realized, oh no, that's not going to work. Belt sander was the way to go. So these have beveled edges on the side, and so I've been belt sanding this, and then I'll do the cleanup work and kind of a little bit of the finish work with the orbital sander. But you know, these things can look rough. It's going to be kind of a rustic look anyway, so I'm not too worried about finish. I'm going to stain them here in a little bit. It's still pretty cold. It'll warm up. Also, as I work on this, I have found it really helpful to have a air compressor, and I like to just clean my material up as I go. Also, there's a bunch of grit and accumulation on the belt of the sander. I can just blow it off and knock that stuff off, and I think that improves the longevity of the sanding surface too. Well, it's a little bit more red than I'd hoped. There's the original color, and I'm a little disappointed, but what the heck, it'll fade with time. So you'll recall that I stained this cedar, and it was more red than I wanted. Again, I think it's going to fade over time, but can you imagine the dew this morning, what would have happened if that has been in that raw cedar that I had? Look at that stain. That stuff just beat it up just like you like, running off. So this is going to give some serious longevity to these posts. One of the things you might consider for about any project have handy is this thing here. It's almost like a jack, but it's got a couple screw holes in the bottom where you can affix it to a block. And then this thing has about you just move it up. So for your floor joists and my posts, I was able to adjust it perfectly where I wanted it. And it has about 300 pounds of up pressure. I never even heard of one of these. And I saw it at one of the box stores. I'm like, now that's for me. This is my one big word of advice is, you know, I just kind of did all this on my own on a wing and a prayer. And I did sketch it out by hand, but I think, and I tried to make a materials list, but to the extent you can go with a plan, or if you're pretty good at design stuff, which I don't think I am, you can go ahead and just really get your materials list together, get it tight, and so that you're not running around and getting this piece or that piece or this piece. Some of that's inevitable, but that was so far one of my takeaways from this. All right, so I was talking about the conditions that I'm working in, and so got the college help. We've got most of it up.
We got a little fascia board for decorative purposes, so everything matches. Got some tin up there. It's not screwed down. It's raining hard enough. I think we're going to get the tools out and we're going to start over again when we have slightly better conditions. All right, well, we have just about got this complete. The main structure's all done. We've got rafters in there. Don't forget your hurricane ties. And you know, I ran a little short, like I said earlier, of some different materials, and we just kind of had to make a hodgepodge of different stuff, but it all seemed to work out pretty good. Now the next step is going to be putting some stringers or sideboards over here, and then maybe some, I don't know how we're going to do it. Might use some tobacco sticks. We're going to try to scavenge what we have on hand, and that'll be our retaining walls for our wood pile. And so stay tuned for that. And we're in this old tobacco barn we have on another farm, and these tobacco barns are really not great. Haven't been used in years and functionally obsolete, but a lot of these tobacco barns in our neck of the woods are just full of these tobacco sticks that, you know, we would harvest tobacco and chop it out in the field, spear it on these sticks, let it wilt down, then haul them in the barn on wagons and go all the way up in that barn, stick by stick, one at a time, hand from one guy to the next guy to the next guy to the next guy to the next guy. And this is a pretty darn tall barn. Give you the willies and you're hanging the top rail, but that's the easiest rail. Meanwhile, here we are. We're going to try to use these tobacco sticks as kind of a stop edge on each side. And like I said, use what we got. Check in later. All right, so we have gone ahead and used the way of the tobacco stick. And we've got our trusty nail gun out, and that makes quick work of this. And if you look at that from the outside, we got a nailer up there, and that's how it's going to look. I'm really happy with that. Good job, Will. All right, we're running out of daylight, but this is what we got so far today. You know, we have a beautiful day today, and I'm thankful to be enjoying it, and I feel good about this project. And if you've made it this long, I appreciate you sticking this out. You know, these projects, I'm no professional homeowner, I'm no contractor, I am no, you know, big time construction guy. I'm none of those things. And just to be able to roll up your sleeves and do something like this, you get a sense of gratification from it. You can start your day or an hour, however long you have, you can do something, you can look back and say, hey, I accomplished something. A little bit like making your bed every morning. And there's a therapeutic benefit to that, which I really thoroughly enjoy. Being outside, getting some sunlight, getting some exercise, some movement. Again, the gratification of accomplishing something, however small, and then involving your family. My wife helped clear the brush, pile things up. I had my son out here from college on his break, and he was able to swing a hammer, use a saw, use a level, use a nail gun, you know, figure things out, use a different part of his mind, and know that he has the ability somewhere in there, that seed has been planted, that he can accomplish something too. When you look at all the videos, and I looked at quite a few, you know, don't rely upon this for technical expertise, because I'm not professing to have the ability to give that to you. There are plenty of other folks out there that can do that, but just again, my words of advice is, you know, do some research, have some fun, try to get a materials list and a plan. One of the things that I really am proud of is you look around here, we used up everything we had. There's very few remnants, and we had to, again, scavenge at the end and kind of put some stuff together, cut a couple corners, but it all seemed to work out. And I hope everything, if you try something like this, whatever it is, I hope it works out for you. But don't be scared of it. Just jump in and try it. The worst thing is you have to call a friend and or hire someone to help cure some of your ills. But good luck, and thanks for watching.
Oh, Sarah, here we go again. I can't get past the pain, the water won't set me